Well, I'm going to run over a bunch of stuff in no particular order with these landing gear. My first couple of videos, I showed how to use a drill jig and get your holes drilled perpendicular and square. Now, I got really lucky doing it that way with the hand drill and the drill jig, and I got this very straight and square and perpendicular. Always have your grandson help you out. But since then, I had too many holes that were elongated on the far side or just loose, and I don't want that. So I went and picked myself up a cheap benchtop drill press, and I cut some blocks that are the same height as this. Just use this. $80. Yeah, $80. It's good, old-fashioned, heavy-duty. And anyways, yeah, you can show them how to turn it on.
This is how you turn it on. Okay, you pull
on the bottom of it.
You pull this, and then you push on this to turn it off.
Very good. Thank you, Aiden. So I would just get a cheap drill press and make sure you are square to the table. I took a straight edge, 6-foot straight edge, laid it across my table because you want it as flat and square as you can get. So I just took the straight edge and laid it out there, and then I just shimmed up different points on it, and then I used my square and looked across it at different points across the tubes there, towards the front, towards the back, and made sure they were the same height, and then I drilled down through it. One thing I would not do is now this is a kit, so these holes were all pre-drilled. I would not pre-drill them, and I would definitely not, you can't even see that. Definitely don't pre-drill the back plate, because there's no way to not elongate that hole. That hole is clear. There you go. You can see that. That hole is clear over here. So when I pop through there, that's going to want to slide over to that hole, and I'm going to have to bring that drill up and down through there, and that there hole will be elongated. So we'll just, but this here will be a tight bolt, as opposed to some of the others that will not this. These 4 will be tight. This here one will be just snug, so it can move a little bit. When doing the axle camber, and it's a little bit of tilt down, the print just shows to set this side of it 1/16 of an inch in from this side of it. In other words, if you put a straight edge straight across it. Well, I only had 1/2 of it done, so that's 2 1/4 inches wide. So I just took and marked my axle 2 1/4 inches, and then set a square on there, and I measured its height. Oh, come on. It's hard to do one-handed. And then I measured how high it was here relative to out there, and set the outer one 1/16 closer to the camera. That gave me my bit of camber. And as far as toe in goes, this here was drilled, and it had a little bit closer on one side relative to the opposite. I just set it in there. It has a tiny bit of toe in, ever so slight. To get the length of the bungee tubes, I compressed them all the way, and now this one here I did with double loops. So there's a loop here and a loop here, so it wants to push itself out. So you got to kind of pull it in. That's staying there pretty good now. You want to compress them all the way. And the first one, you want to set this angle. I set it to 40 degrees. The print shows about 36 degrees, but the picture in the book shows 40 degrees. There is no angle given, no dimensions given, so that's what I set it to. And then I measured from this bolt to that bolt, added a 1/2 inch, cut the pipe off there, and then of course chamfered it or radiused it. And then this side here, I did the same thing, except this one I already had the length, so I just made sure this was compressed, measured 20 and a half, cut it off, or a little over 20 and 3/4, and this is about 20 and 1/4. And then I scribed it real well across it, set the angle for 40 degrees on this side, lined up these, borrowed a bolt from this because my bolts haven't come in yet, put it down through this one to hold it tight. This one goes almost all the way through, and drop that down to hold this in place. Then I slid this over till my mark was centered and the pipe was centered with the hole, and drilled straight down through. So that's set, and it should be really good. One thing I've noticed from flying with lots of repaired landing gear is that it's pretty forgiving. We've actually had both landing gear cocked to the right or to the left, and we had to take off at a crab, and then on landing immediately go into a crab flying the tail. We'd do wheelie landings and fly the tail till it came down. Landing gear aren't easy. I've talked to several people, especially without any dimensions or angles given. So if you have any better suggestions, please post them in the comments.